This is Sybert signing in, and we are on Tournament Rift. We have Technique playing as the green Nod on the left side, and we do have Unleashed. He is going to be as the pink GDI. That's right, it's more vanilla-only 1v1 action, hosted by, of course, the great folks over at GameReplays.org, and this series, this best of 3, could easily be a matchup from the finals of a different tournament with these two players, Technique and Unleashed. Of course, it does depend on how much they have been playing lately, which I do have no idea how much they have been playing lately, so they could both be quite rusty, but even if they're both quite rusty, we could still see some pretty darn epic matches. While we do have, it looks like, relatively standard openers, it doesn't look like it's going to be anything like a Shadow Team Rush from Technique or anything like that, who, of course, GDI versus Nod. We've got a classic matchup with two very good players on our hands. GDI going to be not getting their first shots off, which means Technique will be able to claim that scout, albeit barely. Of course, GDI being just a little bit better there. But I do believe that we did have a second engineer on the way. Yes, we did, from Unleashed. He's going to be smurfing as Disrespect, so if you see that name pop up, that is going to be Unleashed just for at least this series. And of course, he should be having not too much trouble securing this second spike. He might have to I might have to jump out and try to kill that scouting squad, but shouldn't be too much trouble at all. Going to be denying the scouts of Technique. However, Technique looks like he's going for something fairly standard, and so far, Unleashed seems to be doing about the same thing. He's adding on an additional refinery, it looks like. Going to be down in the south here, and then probably just moving on to an additional harvester. Technique going to be moving out his MCV immediately. Some players do like to go ahead and get their additional power plant just to make sure that they're up in their power for the entire time. They don't drop down into that low power mode or anything like that. But it is not so for these players. It does look like, oh no, actually we do have the second power plant there, not a huge deal, but it does look like Technique is just a couple of seconds ahead of Unleashed, but other than that, this is almost a mirror matchup, about as mirrored as you can get for GDI versus Nod. Neither one of them are going for any sort of aggression, well, early aggression, really. They're just going for their harvesters, 2 pit bulls, a third possibly being added on before they do go ahead and move out, which of course 3 is a nice number. If you're lucky, you'll be able to pick off a harvester, but more than likely your opponent will have something there to defend against those. But we do have Technique going to be setting up his southern expansion, heading out to his natural. We do have 4 pit bulls, definitely going to be a hit squad, so he's hoping to pick off at least 1 harvester, and really if he doesn't pick off 1 harvester, he needs to make sure that he keeps these guys alive, because if he trades all 4 and doesn't get a single harvester, he will not be in too good of a position. Those sort of losses early on just do not sit well with you in the early game. However, it looks like Unleashed going to be doing a very, very similar follow-up to Technique. And as you can see, the timings are just a little bit faster for Technique, and Technique does have that spotted. However, here come the first bikes. Or the first pit bulls are going to be rolling in here. Do we have any more bikes popping out for Technique? We've got 1 out, but with really, I mean, he's got 4 pit bulls in the base. And 1 harvester will definitely go down. Unfortunately for Technique, no Scorpion tanks to defend, and also no rocket troopers, but really rocket troopers would be an odd thing to have just rolling around your base. Should be able to pick off at least one of these pit bulls. Yeah, the bikes are going to be swinging in. They focus fire relatively well. However, oh, the splash taking out 2 of those bikes in 1, which means these pit bulls are now with that single veteran status. Technique not going to be feeling too good, losing 1 harvester, possibly about to lose a second harvester. And it looks like the bikes will be able to roll up and knock out another pit bull. However, another bike does go down, and this final harvester will be able to escape. Shouldn't have too much trouble. However, Technique may lose an additional bike, and Unleashed really does want to kill that final bike if he possibly can. He will be able to take 1 more hit, but no, it is not meant to be so. And there goes that pit bull. No predator tanks in that attack squadron. However, we do have more pit bulls going to be moving out. A total of 8 now. A double strength attack squad from that first attack. So Unleashed already going to be putting on some pressure, but as a result, he is a little bit behind in the harvester count from where Technique would have been. However, Technique, of course, losing that harvester, having to pull some of the harvesters off the line just a little bit. And with this many pit bulls, he should be able to do a fair amount of damage. There is going to be the Operations Center dropping down. We'll have to see if this is going to be for any sort of flame tank play, or if it's just going to be this beginning of that tech up to that tier 3, and possibly even some of those 1 clicks in a couple of minutes. Attack bike's going to be moving out. It looks like a Raider buggy or two being mixed in as well. However, the Pitbull is going to be swinging in. There is the first flame tank. Is there actually going to be a second flame tank? No, it's just more buggies being rolled out from the south. However, one harvester will go down. These Pitbulls in too strong a numbers to be stopped that early. A second harvester technique going to be pulling it back at just the right moment. Sells off that refinery. He does not need it at this point. No, it looks like just no more flame tanks. However, the flame tank is going to be getting taken out. Not a single Pitbull goes down at the hands of the flame tank. However, with this many bikes and buggies, he should be able to clean up this attacking force from Unleashed. We'll have to take a look at in a couple of moments what is going to be the follow-up for Unleashed, because he's been doing a fair amount of damage, but he's been trading so many Pitbulls as well. Pitbulls not too expensive considering the economic damage that is being done to Technique, but we'll have to see if Technique is going to be able to finally start hitting back and start taking down the economy of Unleashed. And as you can see over here, we do have a militant squad. He's going to be spotting that expansion relatively early. He saw it before it even was building anything. So Technique definitely knows that it's there. He has an opportunity to strike, as we do have the tier 3 showing up just now, and we might actually have the Tiberium chemical plant being thrown down as well. Right there, it is going to be dropped. However, more Pitbulls rushing into the maze, and this is so much aggression out of Unleashed. We'll have to see Technique. Can he even deal with it? One single obelisk will be enough to one-shot a couple of these Pitbulls, but half of them just simply skirt away and might even be heading down south for a double front attack. We do have a couple of bikes going to be rushing in, but it's not too big of a deal. The outpost has not been sacked. However, an additional harvester going down their low power mode for Technique. He is not going to be feeling too happy about that. He was able to curb the attack, but I believe he lost at least one harvester. We do have the tech center being thrown down, the early harvester transfer from Unleashed. He is in absolutely great form. The bikes were not really an attacking force. They were mostly just a scouting force for that Tiberium catalyst missile to go ahead and take down one of those refineries. Oh, a couple of Pitbulls going to be getting picked off essentially for free here, losing maybe a bike or two, but of course trading bikes for Pitbulls is of course going to be very slightly favoring our non-player Technique. However, Tiberium core missiles are now finished, which means these bikes are suddenly going to be a little bit more effective. The mortars on the Pitbulls not really coming into play in that engagement. However, if he starts engaging buildings, it'll suddenly be a lot more pertinent. Oh, the MCV gets unpacked at just the right moment. Technique going to be able to hold on for a couple of more seconds, but ultimately Unleashed is just in such a better position this game. Technique may not be able to take this. Tiberium Vapor Bomb going to be dropped right on top of these Pitbulls. Not quite, a little bit of a miss there for Technique. The MCV in a couple of moments will get taken out. The Pitbulls are desperately trying to get taken out by these attack bikes, which may barely be able to finish off the Pitbulls before the Pitbulls actually end up taking down that MCV. Unleashed going to be following it up with a Marv Reclamator hub and long distance harvesting that main field. He is going to be feeling very, very good about himself. Even the Pitbull, or even the power plant, will not see any sort of mercy from those Pitbulls. They're going to be working down every bit of Technique's base that they can. The big counter attack, but oh, just kidding, because there's a couple of Pitbulls here. They do get, oh, actually claiming 2 attack bikes for the price of 1 Pitbull. Unleashed will be happy about that. A couple of veteran statuses being handed out like candy to not quite the Pitbulls, but to the attack bikes for sure. Of course, claiming down, oh, a fully heroic attack bike on the field from killing that Pitbull. Unleashed going to be leaving a couple of units here and there. I do believe he was able to spot that MCV moving out for Technique. Technique, if he's able to secure and harvest all of that blue, maybe has a chance, but with the lead that Unleashed currently has, he's going to be able to marvest this green, much of it, and then he's just going to be able to harvest the rest of it. And if he's able to swing over here and smash Technique's original main base, that'll just cut off any future eco for Technique. And Unleashed looking in exceptionally strong form this game. Those big Pitbull attacks ending up working out quite well for him. Already rolling with that dual ref on the expansion. Could be going for a quad Zone Trooper mod, or Marv could be going for also 2 Zone Troopers and then 2 Engineers as well. Both of those pretty common combinations to choose. An additional scouting squad going to be moving out for Technique. Not too big of a deal. A fair-sized counterattack going to be moving out. It will be met with heavy resistance. Unleashed is going to be absolutely fine here. And of course, the follow-up is just going to be a big, strong push either into the main of Unleashed or possibly hitting the main and, well, the expansion, which is currently over here, and then hitting the natural base of Unleashed or of Technique. And Unleashed should be able to finish the game out at that point, but we'll have to see. It's not over yet. It is going to be a quad railgun Marv rushing in. A couple of pit bulls could get picked off. It looks like a bad rally point, or they are just scouting pit bulls. They will get eliminated here, as Tibcore is not very friendly, revealing that there are a number of hallucinations there. So some of that decoy army being utilized, but did they actually spot the Redeemer engineering facility? It looks like some financial problems for Technique. Needs to go ahead and rally Harvesters up here if he hasn't already, which it looks like he has. So he's going to be doing what he can to even up the economic game, but ultimately we could be seeing a ton of EMP Raider buggies rushing in here. Tibcore going to be doing huge amounts of damage, but is it going to be enough? There's so many pit bulls on the field, and this could be just the big, strong, slow, steady push from Unleashed that wins him the game. We'll have to see. Pitbull's going to be rushing in and disrupting this harvesting that's going on. Technique desperately needs to secure this blue field so that he can rebuild his army and possibly stop these forces when they roll around to his natural or try to take out his expansion. Rerouting his entire army to deal with that attack means that this base is going to be completely undefended. Unleashed should be able to roll through here, but we'll have to see. The counterattack with this many bikes and buggies could be doing huge amounts of damage. The Marv is largely undefended. There's not a whole lot of units here to absorb the damage, but it doesn't even matter because Technique is going to be heading around to the expansion. Will he be able to do any more damage? The splash damage from the Sonic Emitter could be doing heaps of damage to these units, as the low tier units will get eaten up relatively easily. Railguns already done, which me already at the 12-minute mark, but that's not all that early considering the tech that we've seen out of these players. Could actually go ahead and snipe down the Space Command uplink and possibly that tech center, but we'll have to see. Unleashed going to be finally moving his forces forward, and suddenly the map just lights up as there is going to be zone troopers all over the map for Unleashed, which of course in combination with those Sonic Emitters will allow him to keep his base absolutely locked up tight. Even Railgun Predator tanks getting in on the action, and now the original main base of Technique is completely annihilated, which means it's this blue base and his natural expansion, which still do stand. Going to be able to pick off a couple of Predator tanks here and there, but is it going to be enough? Pitbull's getting annihilated here and there, just little pockets of units being destroyed for Technique. He's just picking apart Unleashed's army, which once was strong and together, but we'll have to see, because if Technique is able to do sufficient damage, or if Unleashed is able to do sufficient damage to Technique while still holding on to his own expansion, then he could be sitting pretty in the next couple of minutes here. But Technique not going to be giving up. The Redeemer is on the field, and it will be able to pick off a couple of Predator tanks here. They're not even going to be pulled back. Just at the last moment, they do receive that command from Unleashed, who's going to be cleaning up an extra power plant just because he can. However, here come the Raider buggies. We'll have to see the EMPs. Are they going to be good enough? They're rushing into range. However, they do not fire off. 1, 2 should go off. They lock down the mark, and those Tiberium Core missiles are just not effective enough, mostly because everything's already dead. The Predator tank's not going to be a huge amount of help considering they are rage gen. However, now trying to rush around to the rear armor. This Marv is done. Technique might be able to take this game back from dire straits. Here come more railguns on the front line. What is the follow-up going to be? Just zone troopers. If they can jump jet to the back, they might be able to do some additional damage to the Redeemer, but does Technique have enough to hold on? He's rushing in and out with these bikes, or hitting when and where he can. However, will the Redeemer get in range with the flame on top of those zone troopers? The stealth goes down, forcing a scan from Unleashed. He's going to be chasing the Redeemer all the way home. He doesn't have a whole lot of stealth detection unless he has scanner packs, which he does not, which means this Redeemer might actually be getting taken out. It gets eliminated. Oh, is it going to be a direct? No, it's actually going to be a mine drop, not exactly a Tiberium Vapor Bomb. Lots of bikes still on the field for Technique, and suddenly showing us why he is a top Kane's Wrath player, holding on against Unleashed. The rig being brought to the front line so that he can get additional repairs on some of these Predator tanks. Going to be going for that Tiberium Spike, considering Technique was able to grab the bottom Tiberium Spike. He's not going to be too upset about that, but overall he would like to keep a hold of whatever economy he possibly can, considering how few units are left on the map and how even less Tiberium there is than there was when there was beginning. However, Unleashed going to be rushing in here. Jump Jenny to the front line. The Obelisk eats up a number of those Zone Troopers, going to be canceling whatever was building, most likely an additional Redeemer. However, another Obelisk going to be getting dropped in front of here, and Venom's going to be coming in. They will be able to snipe down the Zone Troopers, eliminated completely. However, the Rig going to be doing a fair amount of damage. An additional Rig will provide a spot for these Predator tanks to reverse move to, but the damage may have been done. How many production structures do we actually have for Technique? Absolutely none. Losing that Redeemer engineering facility may have been bigger than just canceling the Redeemer. This could be it for Technique. He's got another attack group going to be moving out to the right side of the map. Unleashed probably doesn't have a whole lot there to defend, but he doesn't have a whole lot there to be killed either. The majority of his base is now consolidated into the middle. He will be losing his tier 2. However, going to be dropping down a Sonic Emitter, claiming a couple of lives there, getting a Raider Buggy and an attack bike, and this should be it. Unleashed finally going to be closing in on Technique, forcing down that air tower, which really was the last hope. But even the Redeemer engineering facility rebuilt. Technique is like, I don't even care, bro. I'll just rebuild stuff all day. I got tons of money. If he does lose the tech center, that will mean that the Redeemer will likely be canceled if that is indeed what he is building. It goes down in just a couple of more hits there, and the power plants will ensure the Technique stays into that low power mode. A couple of bikes going to be getting eliminated. Of course, railguns on the Rig going to be doing huge amounts of damage. Technique has been eliminated. Game 1 goes to Unleashed in an action-packed match. And the first couple of minutes were just solid eco from both players, and then just so many pit bulls leading the way to victory for Unleashed, aka Disrespect. As you can see, he was dominating the economic game of that match. In total, about 50,000 credits of difference between these two players. However, Technique still has an opportunity to bring it back. This is a best-of-3 series, and we're going to be seeing what happens in game number 2 coming right up. And we're on tournament decision. We've got Unleashed. He's going to be, once again, GDI. He is orange this time, and once again as the green knot. I love this. Players are sticking with the same factions. Makes it easy. We do have Technique, both Technique and Unleashed. Once again, we have got ourselves a best-of-3, and really, can you ask for a better matchup? Well, maybe you can, but you would be silly, so it doesn't even matter. And it looks like we do have our engineers going to be heading out for both of these players. Going for those 2 engineers, of course. This is Decision, which means you've got Tiberium spikes, 2 that are close to secure, and then, of course, in the middle, you've got the EMP and 2 defensive towers, which sometimes they make a big difference, and sometimes they don't make a difference at all. But we'll just have to see which one of these ridiculous extremes is it going to be. Unleashed definitely getting the upper hand with the garrisons. He has now got vision, at least, of this center position. He doesn't necessarily have it locked down or anything, but he will have vision of it, and he will be able to grab this near garrison, unless he decides to just go in right to see if he can rush into the base of Technique to see exactly what Technique is going to be doing. Drops down the Shredder turret. Unleashed is going for a fairly standard play, and it looks like he may actually be going for just more harvesters. And then it looks like he may just be going for more refineries as well. So just eco play so far from Unleashed, which is not at all surprising considering it, because you do spawn on this big old Tiberium field. Both of these players going for eco. Oh, never mind. We have an operations center being sent out by Technique, and that is why it was important for him to go ahead and deny the scouts of Unleashed, because he does not want Unleashed to know that flame tanks are going to be incoming, because, of course, the power of the flame tank, at least in most situations, is being able to get close enough to your opponent's base to be able to rack up some massive damage before they actually realize it. It looks like it's just going to be one flame tank, no like flame tank into Reckoner with double black hand or anything like that. Just a single flame tank heading right out the middle, roasting up one squad there, which means it's just like, hey, Unleashed, by the way, if you didn't know, there's a flame tank heading to your base. As you can see, he's going to be pulling out some pit bulls most likely, and he should be sending that. Whoa! Whoa, that defensive tower, I missed the capture of that. But as I said, sometimes they do huge amounts of damage. Unleashed getting the upper hand there, able to snipe down that flame tank. Nice moves there by Unleashed. He's got the south, he's got the north, he's got some nice vision opportunities. Going to be losing that southern squad though, so that does suck for him. Of course, Technique going to be repositioning and going once again for possibly another flame tank. We'll have to see if it's going to be a flame tank or once again he's just going for that tech up. The fast expand relatively so from Unleashed. However, we do have, Watchtower going to be getting thrown down there to try and deny these Black Hand from drop. Oh, wow, for a second, only a second, mind you, I thought the APC actually got taken out as well, because I thought I clicked on it. Turns out I didn't actually. We have an additional flame tank going to be moving out for Technique, and the APC and the Pitbull are going to be scouting the wrong way, but oh my gosh, once again, Unleashed spotting these flame tanks here and there, hitting those timings exactly. And he's actually going to be taking down the defensive turret on the other side just to make sure that Technique does not grab it. It looks like Technique may be going for the kill on this defensive tower to see if he can go ahead and eliminate that. The Rifleman and that APC going to be putting up to some use. However, Unleashed on the ball, man. He is sniping down flame tanks like nobody's business this game. Going to be dropping down that refinery at the expansion. No refinery just yet for Technique. He's got his Scorpion tank up and going. He's going to be feeling good about his defense against this very minor attack, but we'll have to see where are the Pitbulls going to be striking next, if they're going to be able to get a proper flank attack. However, the defensive tower being taken out, Technique was like, I ain't having none of that, son. I will take out your defensive tower and see how you like it. I lost a flame tank or two. You lost a defensive tower, but also that Pitbull getting eliminated there, and the APC will be able to escape just fine, which means that if there is going to be any sort of man spam play, which definitely could be a possibility, never mind, it's going to be triple War Factory for Technique. Triple War Factory Scorpion, it looks like it out of all three of these, so this could just be a huge push, which we've seen Technique on this very map use the concaves that this ridge provides, these entrances, depending on which side you're on, can give you a huge concave to just funnel enemy units, and suddenly Scorpion tanks going to be moving in. We've got at least 10 moving out for Technique. He could be actually wrapping this game up relatively quickly. The fast expand from Unleashed may actually end up hurting him. He's got Orcas, but is it going to be enough to stop a strong, huge push from Technique? He's getting some bikes, he's getting some buggies. Unleashed is going to need a masterful defense to stop this many Scorpion tanks. He might be able to mount a counterattack with some of these Pitbulls and go in and hit the economy of his opponent, or possibly stomp down any sort of expansion. We do have Venoms now going to be on the field relatively soon, which means these Orcas could be getting taken out before they even do very much damage. Mixing in bikes, mixing in buggies is going to be a great choice. Even going to be taking out those APC mines just to make sure that he doesn't lose too many units. The Pitbull's going to be getting pulled back. The tech center is down, which means Sonic Emitter should be on the way, but it is still another 20 or 30 seconds away from being finished. I do believe, however, the Pitbull's going to be rolling in here in just a couple of moments. Here comes the Tiberium Vapor Bomb right on top of the production structures. It's a mine drop, not a Vapor Bomb. The Pitbulls are going to be too late. The Orcas do go down, all of them, but one does get eliminated. The Pitbulls are doing a fair amount of damage, and with the Sonic Emitter, these Scorpion tanks may very well be cleaned up, but it's going to be a close battle indeed. This final pair Predator tank is going to be getting eliminated in this next couple of seconds. An Orca strike rushing in, but it's simply not enough. The airfield goes down. The Orcas refuel for death to suddenly take them, and now Technique going to be the one smashing down Harvester after Harvester and eliminating the Technique's or Unleashed economy on this main field. Technique has got no fear of a counterattack. Those Pitbulls all getting taken out. The Sonic Emitter forcing this army back, and tried to get an extra shot off there, but it is not going to be enough. Those mines narrowly missing their... No, actually, no. Those are going to be the NOD mine drop. It's not actually going to be the APC mines. The Reclamator is... Oh, actually, the Marv is already done. That airfield on the ground as well, but it's just another production structure that Unleashed cannot afford to produce off of. The power plant going to be getting taken out here. I definitely cannot blame Technique for doing that. He has to deal with Sonic Emitters. He does not want to have to deal with Sonic Emitters that are all powered up. Might be able to swing around, and no, never mind. That Sonic Emitter is back up to full power. And Unleashed could actually just sell off that refinery since he's not going to be doing a whole lot with it, and it's just going to be getting eliminated. He does still have the Marv, which means he's not out of this yet. He's got a production structure, sold off a number of buildings, but will he be able to go ahead and harvest any of this, or rather Marvest, because Technique just has so much stuff. Technique could actually, he has actually expanded to the north. I was going to say that instead of going here where it's a little bit more dangerous, he could very easily expand to the north, rush in here with attack bikes if he wants to just see, hey, what is my opponent doing? Was that an Orca Strike? It very well could have been. Some rockets going to be added onto that Marv, and a possible, no, it wasn't actually a counterattack, it was just mines dropped down there earlier by that APC. However, massive amounts of bikes going to be rushing in. Do we have any tech? No, we do not, at least not yet, which means no TIB core. However, the MCV will be getting eliminated, and that single sonic emitter going to be guarding that power plant, and this is going to be a hold from Technique. He should be able to eliminate these last few tanks, but, I mean, after that, what does he really have going? He's finally got his economy up and rolling a little bit. Might be able to harvest some of this field and maybe get a second war factory up because he's going to have insane amounts of income. Or you could try to drop down a whole lot of silos to just save up some of that money, selling off 2 of the war factories. He really doesn't need to spend that much money at this point. Could go ahead and get his tech up at some point, start working on those upgrades, or just add on some additional production structures at another location. The Marv going to be rocking up and just taking a ton. Oh, the mine's right on top of that Marv, almost trapping it. Not quite. It wasn't a perfect mine hit, but a pretty solid mine hit from Technique. However, it looks like this harvester may actually be getting eliminated. No, Technique does not forget about his harvesters. He keeps them safe as his bikes roll into Trash Unleashed's expansion. And this has got to be it for Unleashed. Going to be splitting up his bike's Technique, his locking down harvesters and production structures at the exact same time. The Marv does still stand, but can it stand against this much firepower out of Technique? And his base is spread out, which means a base race is definitely not a choice at all. This could very well be it. Technique going to be evening up the score to 1-1. I don't think he can lose this game. Unleashed is good, but I don't think he's going to be good enough to come back from this sort of a deficit. Just a couple of buildings and production structures left. That power plant could get focused down relatively quickly just to make sure that these watchtowers go into that low power mode. However, an additional power plant, and the one that still stands over here, will be making sure that that does not happen. Technique continuing to just power these low-tier units. Never mind, he's getting up to those Vertigo bombers, which means we do have the possibility of upgrades. TIB core missiles would be an excellent choice, I would think. Going to be going for the Tiberium Spike. Might as well get the hits in where you can. The refinery is down, the harvesters are down, but the Marv is still running, which means that the economy of Unleashed is still going to be powering on through the cold, dark night. The cold, dark night. Wait a second, that was not supposed to be a movie reference, but Technique is going to be showing us some good bike buggy technique and eliminating the rest of Unleashed stuff. I'm assuming he's going to be doing that at some point. Did he end up getting TIB core? I would think so. Yes, he indeed does. But he also does have that EMP coils as well. And he could be going for the laser capacitor upgrade if he wanted to go ahead and get Venoms. But it is going to be Vertigo's moving out. They're rushing over those ridges. They should be able to do some damage to this Marv. Or are they going to be going for the Harvester? Swinging in, and what are they going for? The bunker actually splashing onto that Harvester to eliminate both targets in one. And a huge swell of bike buggy. Where is the Marv? It's moving out to go protect that power plant and sonic emitter, but that is not where the last stand is going to be. It looks like it could be a TIB vapor bomb being called in by Technique, and he just wants to make sure that he eliminates his opponent absolutely. And there's going to be that TIB vapor bomb dropping down on top of that MCV, and the Marv just really most likely doesn't stand a chance, especially against Technique's micro. He's going to be able to send in those EMP buggies to take down that Marv without too much trouble. Repeat, EMPs are, of course, very, very powerful. The MCV still technically standing, albeit barely. We do have a heroic attack bike on the field, and Technique could even go ahead and make sure that he sets an expansion in the south just to make his absolute victory that much more absolute. Unleashed getting a little bit crushed here in game number 2, which means we will be going on to the ace match. Those mines once again being utilized by Technique, although by utilized, he just let them sit around and he didn't force fire them, which is really what happened there. He come a possible EMPs. I don't even know if it's even worth it at this point. He doesn't even need to. He's got this game. He may EMP anyways, just for the fun of it. Misses, Ken whiffs it completely. I think he just EMP'd his own buggies as I talk about how good EMPs are, but it doesn't even matter. Vertigo's Unleashed is like, hey, I still got a power plant. I can totally win this. Oh, just kidding, as he loses the game right there. Unleashed showing us an extremely strong game number 1, a fairly strong game number 2, but ultimately that huge Scorpion Tank swell out of Technique really did push him into the lead and then allow him to maintain that lead for the rest of the game. Didn't even need an early expand, didn't even need those flame tanks to do any damage. Technique is going to be taking it to game number 3, throwing a lot of units away, but he ended up making it work. Lots of low tier units, very cheap, very easy to use, and of course those upgrades make them so much better. But we're going to be seeing who heads to the finals in this next match of this best of 3 between Disrespect, aka Unleashed, and Technique, coming up right now. Which takes us to Small Town, USA, and once again Unleashed is back as the pink GDI on the bottom left side, and we do have Technique going to be as the green Nod on the top right side, going for that dual hand of Nod. It does look like, of course, there is 2 Tiberium spikes on this map, and of course 3 primary routes of attack. You can go over top, you can go over bottom, or just straight through the middle, which of course these buildings are oh so useful, of course, if you're able to garrison buildings on the top, bottom, and then of course in the middle. Then you've got all 3 of your attack routes locked down with eyes, not necessarily with guns, but it does look like Technique may actually not be going for the spikes at all. What is he actually planning on doing? This could be spelling defeat. Oh, he's actually just going to be going for a refinery, so nothing too crazy out of Technique, at least just yet. We'll have to keep an eye on him, as this is going to be game point. So this takes our best of 3 down to a best of 1, basically. And we do have a couple of rocket troopers here just for defense, which is something that players, you know, some players like to do it, some players don't. Most players don't do it in most games, but Unleashed just wants to make sure that he doesn't lose to any early attack bikes or anything like that. Could actually be loading them up into APCs and sending them out for some harvester killing. It is going to be Scorpion tanks out of the gate, which will trade fairly well with rocket APCs, but oh, we could be seeing either fast dozer blades, which would be just silly, or fast flame tank out of Technique. Unless he's not going to be building any. No, it looks like it is going to be a flame tank, most likely. Could be using it to clear the garrisons in the middle before heading in to try to do some actual damage. Pitbull's going to be moving out with these APCs. The Rock V's moving out across the map. Technique going to be possibly catching wind of this. He won't necessarily know that it's rockets inside, but the flame tank will once again get eliminated. Technique having the worst of luck. Oh, lining up the APCs, doing huge amounts of damage there. Technique getting off some pretty good shots with that flame tank. The APC dropping mines as well. Going to be delaying these Scorpion tanks for sure. However, good splitting there by Unleashed. As I say that, he runs one right into that flame tank. Technique actually, that worked out pretty well for him. He did a fair amount of damage to the APCs with the fire, and then he was able to not lose any units and take down, I believe, 2 Pitbulls. Of course, dropping mines on your opponent's Tiberium fields, a good way to guarantee some damage to those harvesters when they try to go ahead and see what kind of harvesting operations they can do. Clearing out the middle garrisons with a flame squad, not a bad idea either, and he will be able to reach that building. So sorry to Unleashed for losing all of those squads. He is not going to be very happy about that. Technique, is he going to be deciding to just continue to empower? Scorpion tanks should be adding on at least 1 more harvester before continuing to power those Scorpion tanks, and he is going to be adding on 1 more harvester. Might be going for a fast expansion as well. His MCV could be sold off, though, if we do end up seeing an MCV sell into possibly some sort of all-in, although really, this is going to be like the latest all-in ever if he ends up doing that. A couple of militant squads going to be moving out just to help clear those mines, and the flame tank going to be heading down on the north side. Might actually catch wind of it. It'll depend. The vision on the Tiberium spike isn't great, but if it runs close enough to the Tiberium spike or stops to attack it, could end up doing some damage to the Tiberium spike, but also letting Unleashed know that, hey, there is an attack on the way. Scorpion tank going to be rolling in, and will be distracting these APCs. The Tiberium spike will definitely go down. Are there any more units? We have got a couple of Pitbulls on the way, an additional one being built right there. Losing the spike, and now he has to decide, do I want to go ahead and try to keep the Scorpion tanks at bay, which really it's just Scorpion tanks singular, or go for the flame tank. The flame tank is going to be the target of these units. However, they're going to be taking a little bit of damage from that flame squad. The pit bulls, if they're controlled well, should be able to take down this flame tank without taking too much damage. Technique could be lining them up, getting at least a ton of damage off, kills one of the pit bulls, and that flame tank is doing a huge amount of damage. Technique actually doing really well with that flame tank, controlling well, almost loses a scorpion tank there, just reminded him that there are indeed mines on that field. Still no expansion just yet. We do have the tech up, which means we could very well be seeing a Tiberium chemical plant and then some sort of scorpion tank moving in to get vision of one of these refineries. Orca's on the way. It's in the back of the base, being hidden from the view of Technique, and here's going to be the surveyor for that expansion. Unleashed looking to set up some more economic opportunities, and here come the Pitbull Predator tanks going to be moving out. They should be able to force down at least one of these structures, if only it's the Hand of Nod. However, Scorpion tanks could simply just overwhelm and destroy them, cutting off the pathing a little bit there. Engineer going to be revealing that it's Black Hand and Engineer into that Redeemer, although really I don't think Unleashed is all that concerned. Pretty standard there. Flame tank once again going to be moving out. Will catch the Surveyor and torch it down very quickly, denying that expansion. That flame tank definitely paying for itself. Might actually get another kill on this Pitbull. Could very well end up taking down one more life before it goes down. One Pitbull does survive, albeit barely, and these Orcas are like, alright, we've had just about enough of you. The flame tank gets eliminated. One more rocket should do the job right there. Gets taken out. Orca can return on home. However, Orca Strike going to be coming in directly on top of the Redeemer. Absolutely great timing there by Unleashed. However, of course, free repairs from that. Oh, Tiberium Seed Missile dropped right on that field, giving Technique a little bit more money. Still going to be no expansion from Technique, getting those free repairs on the Redeemer, meaning that Orca Strike didn't do a whole lot. However, Airfield is now laser fenced, which means that also he's really looking to make sure that his Orcas do stay alive as long as possible. Marv going to be produced as well. It looks like it is going to be Engineers and Rocket Troopers inside of that Marv. A nice combination. Will help deal with any Venoms if Technique decided to go for a strong Venom, even with a laser capacitor, would be able to do a fair amount of damage to the Marv. However, with those Rocket Troopers, would help protect against that. However, flame tanks going to be, or flame unit inside of that going to be clearing any buildings. Orcas should be able to swing around. Rage Gen does go off. Does it actually do a whole lot? May it actually be causing the death of that Predator tank. The Orcas going to be firing off all of their missiles. Should be getting eliminated here by that stealth tank. Actually going to be taking down one of those Orcas for... Oh, never mind. The splash damage most likely claiming the other two Orcas' lives. Unfortunate for Unleashed. However, he could be getting this expansion locked down by Technique. Technique is going to be establishing his own expansion in the south. The Redeemer most likely going to be moving over to make sure that he protects that. Doesn't want his expansion falling to the Marv. Two Scorpion tanks do still survive. Long distance harvesting going on for both players. Not an optimal situation, but if Technique is able to establish his economy while denying the expansion of his opponent, he will be feeling very, very good. Orca going to be able to take down both of these Scorpion tanks, or at least should be able to. However, stealth tanks, Tib core missiles are just so good. Going to be eating up an additional Orca as well. One Orca, not enough shots to take down a single stealth tank. That one Orca just couldn't quite get it. He wasn't the Orca that could. He was the Orca that got shot down right after the other Orca got shot down. Going to be adding on possibly just... No, but it's going to be just Pit Bulls. No Juggernauts, at least not yet. And it is going to be no tech. Already sold off that tech lab, which means that Juggernauts dealing with the Obelisk is not going to be happening. Technique getting this game on lockdown from just about the very early beginning, when he was doing huge amounts of damage with that flame tank. One of the most efficient flame tanks I have seen in quite a while, without actually killing a single building other than that Tiberium spike. Laser fencing going on top of that con yard just to make sure it can survive an extra couple of shots. That Marv getting spotted by that Black Hand squad, not too big of a deal. Redeemer standing watch with this Obelisk, really just wants to make sure that he's able to harvest this Tiberium while denying his opponent's expansion. Of course, Unleashed wants to make sure that he's able to harvest this Tiberium, and rolling up some more harvesters, or even just harvesting the field, would be a good choice. He needs a War Factory pumping units right now, or just getting more Orcas, which he already sold off that airfield. holding on to the tech, which means he can rebuild the airfield relatively easily. Going to be throwing down a blind AA turret. Is there anything to actually warrant that? No, not at all. I mean, it might be able to get a lucky shot off on a tip vapor bomb if it flew just at the right angle and ended up getting caught and wasn't like dropping its bomb right there. Maybe that AA tower could actually do something. 5 flame stealth tanks going to be moving out. No flame tanks on the map just yet. But we do have the, once again, tech up from Technique. And going to be moving in. Stealth tanks on one side, the Redeemer on the other, cutting down the refinery, and that Tiberium spike going to be eating up the power plants and the tech as well, which means Unleashed is desperately going to need a war factory, especially since he's probably kicking himself about misplacing that refinery, unless he really did want a longer distance for that harvester to go. Losing those power plants is not going to be feeling very good. Stealthing the Redeemer, feeling even better for Technique, but Unleashed is definitely up against the ropes. We've got Technique, who's got economy established, he's got production structures, and also he's already got his tech up versus Unleashed. No production structures. He's got power plants like a boss, though, and of course, but units are pretty darn good considering there's also always possibility of stealth tanks rolling in or just hallucinated stealth tanks, which really aren't going to be doing a whole lot. Technique going to be hiding his Redeemer in the side. Oh, it does get spotted there by that Pitbull, albeit barely. The Pitbull's like, I do not want to engage that. Pitbull actually completely out of range, so that Pitbull, no, does get eliminated. Oh, rough there by Unleashed. Actually does survive at just the right moment. The first shots have been fired. However, it is going to be a tip van. No, mines are directly on top of that war factory, or almost. It looks like that was actually a bad drop by Technique, or I should say not a perfect drop by Technique. However, with constant repairs and Pitbulls being produced, it is not going to be very happy times for Technique trying to engage in that situation. Tip Vapor Bomb fires off. Stealth tanks wrecking the northern section of the base. The sell-off for Unleashed, this has got to be it for him. He's lost his economy once again. Unleashed cannot hold this game, and Vertigo's dropping their bombs. Might actually be able to take it down. Nope, they won't be able to take down the war factory. Need a couple of more bombs for that. However, stealth tanks and raider buggies should be able to finish off the job, and Technique will most likely be advancing to the finals. Of course, Unleashed still does have the Marv. He does still have a chance, but his chance is shrinking by the moment, and especially if we see a ton of Venoms, a big swell of Venoms. He's already got laser capacitor. No, he doesn't. He doesn't have laser capacitor already. He does have EMP coils, however. Laser capacitor being added on, and then just a huge swell of Venoms would definitely guarantee Technique's victory, and it's basically already guaranteed. Oh, did he actually? He did call in the Tiberium Catalyst Missile right on top of that refinery, freshly placed by Unleashed, and then he's suddenly like, oh, well, my economy got taken out a third time. The Engineer getting eliminated as well. Unleashed not able to catch a single break. Technique just showing him a rough time on Small Town USA. This is absolutely terrible for Unleashed. Going to be getting eliminated right there. Loses the MCV, loses the Marv. It doesn't even matter that there could have been great EMPs. Technique takes game number 3. Heading into the finals, we'll be facing off against Bonus, which again, another awesome matchup. At least possibility. Coming up, it will be a best of 5 in the finals. As you can see, Technique able to dominate economically in that game, and then continually smashing his opponent's economy at that expansion while establishing his own really did seal the deal. And man, that flame tank, that was a cost-effective flame tank if I ever did see one. But that will do it for this series. Great series from Unleashed, but the ultimate GG goes to Technique, who advances to the finals. Hopefully, finals going to be coming up in the next couple of days. This is Sybert, signing out.